Right, what is misfeasance? With so many UK directors considering placing their business into liquidation during these next 12 months, it's really important you're aware of some of the things that could go wrong and may bite you on the backside down the line. So I'm going to talk to you today about misfeasance. Now, it's a term used for directors who have not stuck to their fiduciary duties and have not acted in the best interests of the company's creditors. And it normally involves the misappropriation of company money. Now, I'm going to give you some examples of misfeasance, okay? Number one, the director has been taking a huge salary, okay, and has essentially bust the company. Let's say, I don't know, you're on £5,000 a month. And then the last 3 or 4 months of the business's life, you've bumped that up to 10 grand a month or 20 grand a month. The spotlight is going to be on you once you go into liquidation. Because remember, when you're in liquidation, every insolvency practitioner in the land is duty bound to check what you've been doing as a director. If they've seen that you've had a large increase in salary, it's a misfeasance claim waiting to happen. Number two, preference payments. Okay, we've done videos on these before, but when your business becomes insolvent, you've then got a duty of care to your creditors. Okay, so you can't prefer one creditor over another. Here's one that we hear all the time. A director has taken a personally guaranteed loan, they have got a personally guaranteed supplier, and they've decided to pay their personally guaranteed debts off before they paid the supplier without any personal guarantees, before they pay the HMRC, before they pay the bank. Now, what happens is an insolvency practitioner will look at that and it's a clear preference. You have paid this person in preference of everybody else. And what they can do is set aside that payment and come to you for the full amount. So I'll tell you of a recent case. It's not a client of mine, by the way, but a guy who rang me for some advice. He decided to pay off a certain lender that takes personal guarantees to the tune of £48,000. And he had some HMRC debts and he owed the bank. And what the insolvency practitioner did is actually set aside that £47,000 and made him personally liable for it. A very, very nasty surprise post liquidation, but don't say you haven't been warned. Number three, transactions under value. So a lot of times, a business may go insolvent, sometimes through no fault of its own. We're seeing a lot of it now in the construction industry where, I don't know, somebody in the construction supply chain hasn't been paid and there's just a domino effect and they can't pay their bills. So they seek insolvency advice. Now, an insolvent company can liquidate and the assets of that insolvent company can be bought by a new company. But they've got to be bought at a fair market value. You can't buy 10 grand's worth of plant and machinery for 50 quid, okay? And you can't do that valuation yourself. If you're considering doing a pre-pack liquidation or a pre-pack administration, it's important you get a licensed independent valuer on board to value those assets, value the goodwill of the company, the plant, the machinery, and keep the insolvency practitioner informed of all these goings on. Because if you're found to sell assets under value, it's something the insolvency practitioner can look at and set aside it and come to you for the difference of what they believe them assets are worth, okay? Number four, concealing assets. Listen, it is what it says on the tin. If you are found to be trying to conceal assets of the companies, the insolvency practitioner is going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. Now, it's an IP's duty to look very closely to see if the director has done any of these. And the reason is, if the insolvency practitioner finds out that you have been doing this, they can come back to you to recover that money and they can pass it out to creditors. But what they can also do is charge more money for doing it. So it's sort of in their interest to find something, isn't it? You know, once you're in liquidation, they found that you've paid someone preferentially 20 grand and you've tried to shift these assets out the back door. They are going to come to you. Please, please, please. Listen, Ringford will give you some really good director-focused advice. But if you're speaking to other insolvency firms, have the awkward conversation with them up front. Okay, get them to go through any potential misfeasance claims. Show them bank statements. Don't try and conceal anything because it'll come out in the wash. Now, if you are struggling with business debt, get advice early. You know, everything, no matter what the problem is, there's generally a solution. Pick the phone up, speak to somebody today. The sooner you seek advice, the better the outcome will be normally. Not just for you, but for the company's creditors. I hope you found this useful. Chris Worden,